My Digital Story, Point of Tension by Joanna Diaz. Growing up Latina meant I would already be faced with moments of tension in my life. Spanish was my first language, and I grew up in an urban environment, which meant I had two hurdles to move in order to reach English language proficiency. I don't remember learning English, but I do remember encountering moments in my young adult life where I came to realize English was not my first language. Out of all the moments of tension I face, there is one specific moment that permeates in my mind. I was at work one day, and my coworker asked about a sweater lying on the floor. I answered, "Yes, that is mine's." That is when I heard, "Mine, it's mine." It was that day when I used the term mine in the wrong tense, and another adult corrected me. I was appalled. Was he talking to me? Is this really happening? I asked myself many questions, but couldn't seem to find an answer. I was a college student, almost a graduate, and it took all this time for someone to tell me I was using the wrong word? This skinny dangly guy at work dared to point out that the word is mine. Why couldn't it be one of my high school teachers to point this out to me? Instead, it was another person at my level. It was simply embarrassing to be corrected by a colleague. Growing up, my friends and family had a different way of communicating with each other. We delivered the message, and that was sufficient. I felt like we spoke a different kind of English. We said minds, and it was never a problem. Everyone understood what we meant, and not even our high school teachers corrected us. I had to graduate high school and get well into college before it was ever pointed out to me. You may ask yourself why I got so worked up when this was brought to my attention. Believe me, it was a huge deal for me. I mean, I was in college, and I was getting quote unquote educated. I made it this far. I should know better. Such a small thing, but it made such a big difference in my life. I felt so illiterate at the time. My literacy was being challenged, and that made me feel inferior. I accept constructive feedback, but I felt this was an attack on my intelligence. It was a turning point in my life. As minute as it may seem, this was a huge moment for me. English wasn't my first language, and for the first time in my life, I was made aware of this. At first, to me, it was a surprise. Someone would have the courage to dare point something like this out to a coworker. But then, with time, I understood why it happened. It wasn't about making me feel inferior or even illiterate. It was about correcting me so that I wouldn't make the same mistake again. Looking back at it now, I realize he had done this to help me. This happened at that moment so that in the future, post-college, I wouldn't look bad in front of colleagues or equally or more educated people. Today, I always think before I speak, and I hope that I am using the right words when speaking in front of a group. If I do make a mistake, I am not offended when corrected. As a matter of fact, I make my own corrections if I catch myself using the wrong term. This point of tension in my life made me aware of some mistakes I make in regular conversations. I now make it a point to make sure everyone in my household is using correct English. We all understand that there is a time and place for certain literacies to be used. My daughter knows that mommy will correct her if she uses words or sentences in an incorrect manner. It is clear we must code change and understand all of our social environments require us to speak differently. Moments like those truly define who we become. I now understand that your social setting has a lot to do with what is acceptable language. We should always be open to improving ourselves, and I am a work in progress. My literacy is ongoing.